Здравствуйте. Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to give a sort of intro general overview of the genitive case. So in Unit 6 of Galasa, we're introduced to the genitive case. It's on pages 205 to 216, roughly. Um, and I want to just kind of give you a good overview of the whole thing. So this will be probably a little bit longer of a video today. Um, and it does presume that you've read this section already. So make sure that you've done that before you watch, because I think you'll understand it much better if you do. Okay, so let's review what you've read, and just test yourself, see if you can brainstorm and pull out and recall any of these four scenarios when we use the genitive case, right? Because if you remember, the idea of a grammar case in Russian and in many languages is to basically tell you, it puts an ending, it changes the ending of words usually, and it tells you what function any given word in a sentence is playing in the sentence. So if it's nominative, it's the subject often, or if it's accusative, sometimes it's often the direct object of the verb, etc., etc., right? If it's prepositional, um, that's used usually with location. So if you're saying where, in, or at a place, and so that's what cases do, and they're used on nouns and adjectives, not verbs, not adverbs, right? Just nouns and adjectives. So in the case of genitive, this chapter, what are our four scenarios? Go ahead and hit pause and see if you can remember some or all of these. Okay, now that you've done that, these are the four functions of the genitive case, if you want to put it that way, or we can call it the four scenarios in which we use the genitive case that you read about on these pages. It is the first one are you constructions, or sorry, not you construction, u constructions. So whenever we use this preposition u, we say u plus the genitive case. So whatever comes right after the u is in the genitive. And so, for example, у моего брата есть машина. My brother has a car, right? And мой брат goes into the genitive here, so it becomes у моего брата. So whatever comes, and we learned this already, we've been using for a long time. У меня, у тебя есть, у них есть, у него есть, у вас есть. All those forms are genitive forms. We were using them without knowing that they were genitive. But, you can use pronouns there, like у меня, у тебя, but you can also use literally any adjective or noun there. So that's why here we're saying my brother has, у моего брата есть. So one important scenario is the u construction. And both number 1 and 2 are about expressing possession, having things, having or not having something. So, sorry guys, 1 second. So they're about having things, they're about possession. So one of the key meanings of the genitive case is possession. Okay, so and there's two ways we can express possession. Number one, with u constructions, as we've done most of the time. And now we're also going to learn another way of expressing possession, and that's basically the equivalent of apostrophe S in English, like saying my brother's car, my dad's book, John's girlfriend, whatever the thing is, we use apostrophe S. This is called genitive of attribution. In other words, saying that something belongs to somebody else. And we express this by basically saying it this way. Эта машина моего брата. Да? So my brother, у моего брата есть машина. This is an u construction. Or this says basically my brother has a car. Or here we say, this is the car of my brother. Or this is my brother's car. So these are two different ways of saying possession, but they both use the genitive case, right? Это машина моего брата. And the third situation when we use genitive case is with lack or absence. So basically this is saying, most often this is saying you don't have something. So, у меня нет машины. So the word is normally машина, да? Like here, машина. But when you have a lack or absence of the thing, when you say you don't have it, whatever comes after the нет goes into genitive case. So, у меня нет машины. Well, and we're going to go in depth on each of these points, so don't get too overwhelmed yet, because we'll actually get to practice each of these. But with numerals, 2, 3, okay, in the fourth scenario we use genitive with is with numerals. And so, for example, with the numbers 2, 3, 4, or 22, 23, 24, 32, 33, 34, up into infinity, any number that ends in 2, 3, 4, we're going to use genitive singular after it. And any number that ends, in the 5 through 20, so, and then that goes up 25 through 30, 35 through 40, 45 through 50, etc. Those are in the genitive plural. We're going to kind of focus the most on 1 through, the first 3 today, and loop back around to this a little bit more in the future. But this is also something we've been doing a little bit of without realizing it. For example, when we learned time, we said час, один час, да? Hour, or the first hour. So like, I'd go to work at 1 o'clock, час. But we said 2, 3, 4 часа, and we said 5 through 20 часов, right? And so we didn't talk about this being genitive case, but that's what it is. Because we hadn't learned it yet, so I didn't want to get too hung up on that. But the reason this is час is nominative, часа is genitive singular, and часов is genitive plural. And again, the rule is basically that when you use any noun or adjective and noun with a numeral, like for example, I have 2 brothers, I have 4 books, I have 27 chickens, whatever it is, you put the things in genitive singular if the numeral ends in 2, 3, 4, or you put it in genitive plural if it ends in any of these. If it ends in the number 1, for example, один час, right? Or один телевизор. Or 21 телевизор. It stays телевизор. So it stays in the nominative case. But if you put it in, if you have 2, 3, 4, it's телевизора. It goes into the genitive case. Okay, so we're going to get to explore these in more depth, but I just wanted to start off by introducing that these are the 4, and there's even more than this, but they're more like less common things when we would use the genitive case that we'll learn later, like in more advanced Russian. But these are the 4 functions of genitive, or the 4 scenarios that we need to know to use genitive case. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm picking up where the recording lost its sound. So we were just discussing the uses of the genitive case. So I kind of gave you a little intro to that, about 10 minutes. And now let's get into the endings first, right? So as refresh your memory of what you read from the chapter about the genitive case endings by filling in the chart below. So all of the blanks. Go ahead and hit pause here and see if you can fill in the rest of this. Okay, now that you've done that, we have, so remember that this is just the noun chart, right? We'll look at adjectives next. And we have words in the masculine or neuter get the same ending in genitive, and words in the that are feminine get a different ending. So if we have jornal, masculine, right, becomes jornala. Akno becomes akna. So we know that one of the letters for masculine is a. Karandash becomes karandasha. Slavar. Now this one has a soft sign at the end, so it needs to get the alternative ending or the soft ending. So it's either a here, as we said, or what? Ya. So a or ya. Feminines, so machina becomes machinli. So genitive feminine ending is ui or e. Ui or e, right? These letters a, ya, ui, e typically are paired together, right? They're the hard and soft versions of one another, essentially. So machina becomes machinli, robashka becomes robashki, and titrad becomes titradi. Rubashka becomes Rubashki because of the E, or because of the 7-letter spelling rule. So Ka is one of the 7 letters, so we can't write Ui here, we have to write E. And Titrad is a soft sign word, so anytime there's a soft sign at the end of the word, it needs to use the soft ending or the alternative ending, so that's going to be E. So Titradi. Oh? Okay, so again, one more time, masculine and neuter and genitive are A or Ya for the nouns. Feminines are ui or e, right? What about adjectives? Let's do the same thing. See how much of this you can remember from your reading and review so far this chapter. And go ahead and hit pause and fill in as many or all of the blanks as you're able. Okay, now that you've done that, we have, again, masculine and neuter adjectives, either novi or novoye, that's the masculine and the neuter, are going to get the same endings here, right, in the genitive. So novi, novoye becomes novava. Remember, this is the g letter that on the endings of words is often ends up being pronounced like a v. So not novaga, but novava. Haroshi, harosheye becomes harosheva. And this is a ye instead of an o. So the main ending is ovo, and the alternative ending is yevo. Ovo, yevo. And this one is yeah because of the 5-letter spelling rule. So go back and review that if, probably just take you 30 seconds to jog your memory on that, but go back and look that up in the book. Remember, anytime there's a topic like this, you can skim back through the book until you find it. Probably faster would be go to the index at the very end and look up, for example, spelling rules or 7-letter, 5-letter spelling rule. It'll come up there. It'll tell you the page, and then you go to that page, right? Or, anything, prepositional case or accusative case or nouns or adjectives, look it up by the key term that you want to review, find the page, go back to it, right? How about feminine adjectives in the genitive? So novaya becomes novoi. So we know oi is one of the endings. It's the main one. And haroshaya becomes haroshei. Oi or ye. So it looks like this, right? Oi ye. Ovo yevo. So novого, хорошего, старого, плохого. Новый, хороший, старый, плохой. Okay? All of these ended up being ogo, ovo, or oi, the main endings, except for this word haroshi, right? Harosheva, yeva, and haroshei. And the reason there, again, is it's what's called the 5-letter spelling rule. Not the 7-letter, that's the one we use more often, right? The 5-letter is a little bit less frequent, but still important. Definitely need to know that one, so go back and look it up if you need to. If you need me to talk to you about it, clarify it, I'm happy to do that too. Okay, so the short and sweet of genitive endings, other than plural, which we're going to talk about later, because we don't want to throw everything at you at once, right? But is that a, ya for masculine neuter nouns, ui, e for feminines, And ovo, yevo, masculine neuter adjectives. Oye, feminine genitive adjective. Okay, let's give this a try. So as we said, there's a bunch of different scenarios when we use the genitive. You know, it could be possession, it could be lack or absence, it could be numerals. But for now, let's just work on the endings, right? Let's not have to figure out, you know, the scenarios and all of that. So let's look at let's just practice putting these words into the genitive. So 619 on page 207. Put the following words and phrases into the genitive case. So let's just do the odds just to save a little bit of time. Do all the odd numbers. Go ahead and hit pause, and then we'll take a look at it together. Okay, now that you've done that, so we have, I'll just buzz through these here for you real fast. Studienta, doma. So both masculines just get a on the end, right? Slavarya. That one gets ya because it has a soft sign at the end. Oop, sorry, I'm not doing the odds. Let's do number 3 is Slavaria. Number 7 is, or number 5, geez, can't count. Latvia. So yeah is neuter, but it's yeah always the standard neuter ending, but yeah is like the soft alternative one. So here we need to use the soft alternative genitive ending. So it's yeah. Okay. Kvartira, kvartir, kuchni. So yeah is the soft ending for feminine. So we need to use the soft alternative ending there. Okay. Now we're getting into adjectives and modifiers here, so things get slightly more complex, but not too bad. Let's give this a try. So нашего отца, этого американца, большого общежития. One little nuance here. Again, sometimes I hesitate to go into every little nuance because I don't want to overload you with information, but some of the, you know, if you were keenly observing, you would have noticed that, well, this word is отец, but then it becomes отца. What happens to the ye in the word, right? It's called a fill vowel, and these happen towards the ends of words in Russian when you add an additional letter. Sometimes it makes it unwieldy, sort of. We saw this before with like Amerikanец. When you make it plural, it becomes, for example, sorry, one second. Make things a little clearer. Amerikanцы. And that yeah that was here drops out, right? That's a fill vowel. Those happen from time to time. You get a feel for where they should happen and where they shouldn't as you get further along with Russian. For now, I wouldn't get overly hung up on it, maybe just on a word by word basis, realize, okay, отец, американец, these yets words all lose the ye, for example, when you add an a. So нашего отца, этого американца. So not американеца, but американца. The ye drops out, right? The ye drops out here as well. Okay, how about твоей комнаты? Интересного журнала. Okay, so that's it. Those are the odds, and yeah, if any of those, you know, confuse you, or you want clarification, always feel free to ask me. But yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward in terms of just referencing the charts for now. Pretty soon we want to start to have these memorized, right? The more you do it, the more you'll start to know them. But yeah, putting the noun genitive ending on the nouns and the adjective endings on the adjectives, right? Simple as that. Okay, let's Let's start to get into the actual scenarios. Today I'm only going to do the first two, and then I'll save for a third video, a final part 3 video for next week on these last two, okay, on absence, lack, and numerals. Today we're only going to talk about the genitive using possession, talking about possession. Okay. So if we take a look at page 208, that's where this is introduced. Let's see how the book kind of breaks this down for us. So as we said earlier, there are two constructions or two scenarios, whatever word you want to use, when we would use genitive case with possession specifically. There's an u construction, u plus the genitive. And we've been doing this for a while now where we said like u меня есть, u тебя есть. And remember just the letter u requires the genitive for whatever comes after it. So here we might say у моего брата есть машины. My brother has a car. And so my brother goes into the genitive form because it comes after the u. And a different way of saying possession without using an u construction, without the letter u altogether, is what I usually call like apostrophe s in English, my brother's car, or what you can call the genitive of attribution. So, эта машина моего брата. This is the car of my brother. So that of something is a genitive. That's the logic of genitive. That's sort of what the main meaning that it has. And so, эта машина моего брата. It's the car of my brother. And you put of whom, whose thing it is in the genitive case, right? It's kind of similar to u construction. It's just a different way to express it. So here we're saying my brother has a car. Here we're saying this is the car of my brother. Okay. So those are the two we want to take a look at. On page 208, it introduces the first scenario. That's the u construction. So let's go ahead and read through that. After u, expressing ownership, existence, and presence. Russian has no verb to have. So in English, this is an actual verb. I have, you have, he has, right? Russian doesn't do it that way. It expresses it a different way. Possession is expressed by saying, by someone there is something. So, u literally means by. By Ivan there is a dacha. U Ivana jest dacha. And u always requires the genitive case of the thing that comes after it, right? Or comes with it. So, u Ivana jest dacha. Since the dacha is doing the verb jest, it is in the nominative case. So, what this means is that dacha in this sentence, in terms of the grammar, grammatically, dacha is the subject. Because is the verb. So the dacha is by Ivan. Right, something like that. So that's why this is in the nominative. Here's our verb, and then by plus the genitive case. So that's how this construction works. Once you get used to the idea, you can make, any sentence you want out of it. У моей сестры есть собака, у моего брата есть дом, у этого студента есть книга, right? U plus the genitive case, really simple. And this goes in the nominative case. Okay, so in response to u plus genitive jest questions, Russians often answer da jest. So for example, у них есть компьютер. Do they have a computer? Da jest. So this is kind of like saying yes, they do, right? Like in English, we would answer that way. You could answer, do they have a computer? Yes. Yes, period, right? Or you can say, yes, they do, right? And so this would be basically like the same sort of response. У них есть компьютер? Да, есть. У твоей сестры есть пальто? Does your sister have a coat? Да, есть. Yes, she does. Okay. These are there's a couple other ways we can use it too. So you can say, Здесь есть книга. This is not using u. This is just using the verb есть, like saying something exists or is present. So here, is there a book? Is there a book here? Здесь есть книга? Да, есть. Yes, there is. The literal meaning of u in u constructions is by or near. So u plus the genitive can also be used in a literal dictionary meaning by or near something. So this is a slightly different way to use it. The letter u or the preposition u. Lampa стоит у окна. The lamp is standing by the window. The lamp is by the window. So here in the physical sense of u, or the literal sense of by something, by the window. Okay, so it's used more in this, I guess, figurative metaphorical sense of meaning have or possession. U Ivana есть. But u is also used in this literal sense, meaning by or next to. So lampa стоит у окна. Okay, let's give this a try. 620. Make 5 questions in 5 statements about things people have by combining words from the columns below. So here we're going to use u constructions, right? So, у твоего отца есть дача? Does your dad have a dacha? У меня есть новая машина. I have a new car. Okay. So here we're going to take words from the left column, the person who has something, or who you're asking about, whether it's a statement or a question, and then the thing that they have or don't have, right? So let's make up a couple sentences here. Go ahead and hit pause and see if you can make 5 questions and 5 statements. Okay, now that you've done that, let's take a look. Just going to make up some random sentences. First, a couple simple ones. У тебя есть собака? Do you have a dog? Да. Да, у меня есть черная собака. Okay. How about with some more complex, with adjectives and things like that? У этой американки есть машина? Да, у нее есть новая красная машина. So, у, у тебя есть собака, у меня есть. Those are in the genitive, right? Тебя, меня. And then here we have у этой американки. This was before in the nominative, эта американка, right? So there we just need to do what we just did earlier and put the right genitive endings on it. So this becomes этой американки in the genitive case, right? Feminine adjective, feminine noun ending in the genitive. Yes, she has. У нее есть новая красная машина. У Виктора и Лены есть квартира в Петербурге. So, do Victor and Lena have an apartment in Petersburg? In St. Petersburg? Victor и Lena become у Виктора и Лены. Those are the genitive masculine and feminine forms, right? Okay, so this is, to go back again one more time, this is one of our 4 ways we use genitive, right? It's the u construction. So when we use u plus the genitive, that's the way we're going to do it. Let's look at the second one, apostrophe s. So like, my brother has a car, or this is the car of my brother, or my brother's car. Slightly different way of saying things, but it's also using genitive case, except without the letter u before it. Okay. So let's take a look at, I'm going to skip to page, here we go, bottom of page 211, because I like to talk about possession all at once, so we can talk about it with U constructions and then without the U is what we'll talk about now. And we'll skip over, save for next time, this about on page 209 about non-existence or absence. So we'll come to that one next. They just present it in a little, a little bit different order than I do. But so possession and attribution of the genitive case of noun phrases. To express possession, Russian uses the genitive case, where English uses a noun plus apostrophe s, or of. The chart below shows how this works. This is Vadim's apartment, or this is the apartment of Vadim. These are basically the exact same meaning. We either use apostrophe s, or we say of in English, and they're both equivalent to the genitive case in Russian. So we would say either one would translate this way. Это квартира Вадима. Да? So this is the apartment of Vadim, where Vadim gets a on the end as the genitive ending. So the apartment of Vadim. So that that genitive ending makes it mean of, right? It makes it mean possession in that way. So here we don't use the u, right? This is like apostrophe s. So the genitive case is used to answer the question che. Remember this word we had a couple, maybe three chapters ago? Che, cha, chio, chi, whose. So for example, che это дом. Whose house is this? Чья это книга? Whose book is this? Чьи это джинсы? Whose jeans are these? This is the word whose, and when we answer it and say it is somebody's house, it is somebody's book, we use here the genitive case. So, for example, чья это квартира? Это квартира Вадима. This is the Vadim's apartment. Чей это ковер? Whose rug is this? Это ковер Кири. It is Kira's rug. Чье это письмо? Whose letter is this? Это письмо нашего соседа. Yeah, so наш сосед becomes нашего соседа, of our neighbor, the letter of our neighbor, or our neighbor's letter, right? Same thing. Чьи это книги? Whose books are these? Это книги моей сестры. These are the books of my sister. Okay. This is kind of an important little note here. We also use the genitive in most places we would use of. So a picture of Katya, or the president of Russia, right? Fotografia Katsi, that's in the genitive. And Президент России, the president of Russia. So these aren't possession fully in the traditional sense of what we think of possession. For example, a photograph of Katie here actually means that Katie is in the photograph, right? Not that it's her, she owns it, right? It's that she possesses it. So here the meaning is slightly different, but it's this logic of, right? So again, we use genitive in most places we would use of in Russian. So photograph of Katie, president of Russia, Президент России, both genitive forms here. Okay. Let's go ahead and give this a try on 626. So express possession using the appropriate forms of the genitive. Just going to do a couple here, but hit pause and see how many you can get through, and then we'll take a look. Okay, now that you've done that, we have express possession using the appropriate forms of the genitive. So, whose room is this? Чья это комната? And we know that the answer should be, it is this new student's room. Это комната. And we know we need to express that, we need to put новый студент into the genitive case. So it becomes, it is the room of the new student. Нового студента. So that is the genitive form. So whose room is it? It is the room of the new student, or again, we can use apostrophe S there in English. It is the new student's room. Okay. Whose desk is this? It's the desk of our teacher. Чей это письменный стол? Это письменный стол. And here we need to put this into the genitive case. Наш преподаватель. Нашего преподавателя. Like that. Okay. Okay. So, that's pretty much it in terms of how we use genitive case with those two scenarios. So we're halfway there. We got through two of them. So the challenge is to keep drilling and memorize these endings, the masculine and feminine nouns, right? And the masculine, neuter and feminine adjective endings for genitive, and then also start to get comfortable with applying it and using it. So that's what we were just working on, was these first two scenarios with an U construction. So my brother has, у моего брата, да, есть машина. Or genitive of attribution, apostrophe S, эта машина моего брата. It is the car of my brother. Okay. So we're halfway there. I will make another video soon with the remaining two scenarios, which are absence and lack. So when you don't have something, and with numerals. Okay, so be on the lookout for that coming soon. All right, guys.